is very affectionate, is very intelligent, and many people are shocked by her death. You can see some of her friends have left flowers on the school gates with one word written on the card, why? And that's a question many of her friends will be looking for an answer to when they return to St Thomas's here in Exeter later this morning. But I think it's fair to say that her friends are absolutely shocked by the murder and will certainly miss her.
She was always really kind all the time, and she didn't like it if anyone said anything bad about her friends. She'd always stick up for them a lot. She's really kind.
She's just really nice. I don't know how anybody could ever do anything like that.
Academically, she was very bright and played a very full role in the life of St Thomas's here in Exeter. She was involved in the school orchestra. She'd recently taken up an interest in basketball, and her teachers had high hopes that she would go on to one of the country's top universities.
Kate was an ideal student in many ways. She was an above-average student, a very talented young lady who benefited fully from the range of opportunities available at St Thomas High School. She was involved in sport and music, and she enjoyed learning. She was an absolute delight.
So, Alan, how is the murder hunt going?
While police have now 80 officers involved in the investigation, door-to-door inquiries are being carried out in the area, and also there's a thorough search of the lane where her father found her body. The problem, of course, is at this time of year there's a lot of leaves lying on the ground, so that could well be concealing the murder weapon. A post-mortem examination was carried out yesterday. Details of that are expected to be made public later today. But of course, the locals will hold the key, and one person that we spoke to told us that he had seen someone suspicious hanging around the lane where Kate's body was found.
As I say, I walk this every day, and there's been a guy, probably late 40s, scruffy looking chap. He's been around for 2 or 3 weeks now, you know, and I seem to see him around the times the kids are going to school and that sort of thing.
Well, the police are looking for help from the public, aren't they, Alan?
That's right. They want to speak to anyone who lives around the area, obviously, and may have been around on Saturday afternoon. People come and go out of the area because they're shopping, visiting friends, doing that sort of thing. So anyone they saw in the area who they wouldn't normally see, they would like to hear from. And also they would like to hear from anyone who regularly uses the area where Kate's body was found. It is a popular spot for people walking their dog. One man, as we've heard, saw a suspicious-looking character. Obviously, police want to build on that. But it is going to be a long process, simple police work, because there are no eyewitnesses. Finding the murder weapon too at this stage is also a priority. But the police say they are absolutely determined, and there should be no doubt about their determination to catch Kate's killer.
Alan Fisher, for the time being, thank you very much.
Time now, 11 minutes past 6. In a moment, it's time for the news, weather and travel wherever you are. But still to come on the news. Martin Frizzell is in West London to tell us more. Good morning to you, Martin.
Good morning, Anne, from my drawing room. No, I'm afraid I wish it was, if it only were true. Now, this is the Coach House, a very reputable antique shop in West London, but sadly, it's not all like that at all. Now, for our investigation, of course, this is the time of year when people may need that extra money. They may find an old heirloom or something lying in the attic. They may think, perhaps this will get me an extra Christmas present. And we're talking about an industry, of course, the antiques business, which has some 7 television programs on the go at any one time. And of course, the Antiques Roadshow being the biggest of all. And the question everybody wants to know is, how much is it worth? That may well be the question that you're asking. And we asked that too. We asked that of several antique dealers, and we took along just a couple of items. In particular, we took along this 1930 Anne-Marie handbag. Now, there's an identical one of these in the Victoria and Albert Museum. And we also took along this. It's a Chanel brooch in its box. That comes from the 1920s. Both Art Deco pieces. Now, in this short film you're going to see, first of all, we go to a reputable dealer from Butler & Wilson who tells us what these things are worth, and then we have a chat with some, well, shall we say, some lovejoys.
Hi, I wonder if you could have a look at these and value them for us.
Sure.
That's the handbag.
I think it's probably made in the 30s. There's a lot of people that I know, collectors, that would kill to get this. But this is quite a famous bag, but I've heard that somebody's been willing to pay up to £2,000 for these.
There's one more piece here I wonder if you could take a look at.
Ah, Chanel.
What do you make of that?
Okay, so this is Chanel. This is an early piece. It's made in lead, and it's early because if you see on the back, the early pieces, this is probably from the 1920s, it's scripted writing Chanel. With the Chanel lettering, that lets you know how early it is. Could be £1,500, £2,000, maybe more.
Our team took the pieces to Brighton, famous for its antique shops, wanting to find out what we'd be offered as a member of the public. With a figure of £2,000 in mind for the handbag, we took it to a specialist dealer.
What can I offer you?
I mean, I'm kind of in your hands, really.
Well, £20 for the bag.
Is that all it's worth?
Well,
I'll just have a quick think about it, and then if...
yeah.
I mean, maybe that's the best thing
I
to
don't
do.
mind. I mean, I'll give a bit more. I'll give a bit more for it.
Right. And what would be the most, do you think?
Like £30.
Right.
I'd be quite, happy to pay 30.
Right.
Next, we took the handbag and the brooch, which we even put in a Chanel box, to Church Street in London, also well known for its Art Deco dealers. Remember, the brooch has Chanel written on it. Our producer feigned poor eyesight and said he couldn't read it.
He's not Chanel, that's not Chanel mark on the back.
Oh, really? And what about the bag?
It was quite fun, but...
Oh, yes, it is a bit of fun. Worth more than a fiver. About 15 quid for the two pieces of it.
And for a final valuation, we went to the Antiquarius Market in London's West End. It's full of specialist dealers.
I mean, I do buy things like this. Let me have a look. If it's Chanel, I'll be interested.
All right. Oh, yeah,
No, it's not Chanel, but there's nothing wrong with it.
Right.
I mean, it's basically costume jewellery.
Right.
I think this is 1960s.
Right.
25 for two?
25 for the two together.
Yeah, it's not that. I mean, but you can work it out. I prefer the bag.
Yeah.
I prefer the bag because I think it's funny.
Yeah.
I'm not being rude, but if you had something good, and if I thought it was worth £1,000, I would offer you 9.
Yeah.
I really would.
Well, completely wrong. These are actually very valuable items. This in the Victoria and Albert Museum. This is actually catalogued in old Chanel brochures. So we know what we're talking about. They clearly did not. Let's join Malcolm Hort, who's the Chief Executive of the London and Provincial Antique Dealers Association. Good morning, Malcolm.
Good morning, Martin.
Were those dealers, were they just ignorant, or was there something more sinister at work here?
Well, I haven't seen the film before, but I think there are 2 points to make. First one is, if they were specialists, perhaps they should have recognised the items for what they were. And if they did recognise them for what they were, I can't understand why they put such a low value on it.
Now, of course, when we say the Antiques Roadshow, everybody wants to know, when they go into a shop, what are these things worth? I mean, how can you be guaranteed, if you don't want to sell something to an antique dealer, where do you go? We just picked 3 off the street there and we got a very bad deal.
Yes, you appear to have done so. Just let me give you a few tips, if I may. First one is, go to a dealer who specialises in the item that you're wishing to sell, and if you don't know who those are, one of the national associations can give you a name. I think the second tip is always to go and take 2 or 3 quotes or valuations for the item you're selling. I think also do a little bit of research before you go. There are several good price guides published which won't tell you the price of the thing or the value, but will give you a guide, and I think that's important. And the fourth one I would recommend is you do go to a member of one of the 2 major national associations. In my case, the LAPADA members. We are the biggest association, and they have been selected for membership because we have evaluated their integrity, knowledge, experience. They've signed up to a code of practice, and if all does go wrong, there is a conciliation process we won where if there's trouble, we can try and sort it out for people.
Great, Malcolm. Thank you very much indeed. So there are the tips for you. If you can, go to a reputable dealer, of course, and these are the 2 items that we had. And in case you think that, the antiques business is, who really cares about that? Let me tell you that £2.2 billion it was worth last year. That's more than the whole British record industry put together. More than the Spice Girls. Imagine that.
Imagine that, Martin. For now, thank you very much. Now, we did ask the dealers that we visited in that film for their response. Unfortunately, the owner of Jezebel Antiques in Brighton is abroad and unavailable for comment. However, V4 Decorative Arts said, "I don't deal in these things. I could not see Chanel written on the brooch you showed me, and I had no idea of the value. I don't do buying in that market. I wasn't being dishonest. Even if I had known it was Chanel, I wouldn't have paid any more. I've been up since 6 o'clock that morning, and Art Deco covers a very wide field." Well, then we asked Beverley Antiques in London for their response, and they said, "I don't know about things like that. I deal in pottery and glass." Now then, if you have something that you want us to investigate, then you can always write to it at this address. It's GMTV Investigations, Upper Ground, London.
Well, let me tell you why I'm not going to shoot this line. Because he doesn't stand a chance, and you know he doesn't. And I'm not a businessman. I'm a television reporter making a programme about canned hunts. And that's what this is, isn't it? This is a canned hunt, isn't it? I'm not shooting that line. It doesn't stand a chance. It's been drugged. You told us earlier. You know it has. My colleagues are all from the same television company. Let this sink in. This is a canned hunt. I am not shooting that lion, and neither are you. It doesn't stand a chance. It's been tranquilised. It's a lion that's come across or been baited across. He's been baited across from the national park.
Yeah, he has.
It took such a long time for the penny to drop with that guy.
Very long time. As I said, more guns on the vehicle, and that was scary than brain cells. Yeah. But we also got a result, and that's the other thing we've tried to do over the years. The South African government promised to stop people doing that, and they have.
And they're not all as dim as that guy. The trouble is, a lot of these villains are very smart, and you and your team as well, because it's not just you, there's a whole team there.
Absolutely, and they all work very hard.
Have to be second-guess the villains, because a lot of them are actually quite tricky and very clever.
They are very tricky, and they are very clever. But, you know, sometimes they're a bit smarmy, and you can rehearse a line in your head and get them with it. There was one guy who said, "Oh, come on, Mr. Cook," recently, "make an appointment." And I said, "Mr. Davis, this is your appointment."
When you've got Roger Cook hammering on your door, that is your appointment. Now, like you say, it's not over. The series is still on. What are you looking at tomorrow night?
Tomorrow night we're talking about credit cards and how easy they are to commit frauds with in various ways. That it's a growing crime, something like £200 million a year, we think, although the credit card companies won't help you quantify it. And the new smart card doesn't help in the areas that we've looked into.
Is the smart card the one with the
That's the one with the little
picture?
Computer chip on it.
Yeah.
And if you're committing a credit card fraud on a mail order house, for example, they never see the card. So what use is that? Most of the people who commit the crimes are sort of young and computer literate. It's a national problem, but it doesn't appear to be a nationally organised crime. And we did a number of things. We experimented with my credit card. We put my details, with the help of the Greater Manchester Police, cloned it onto another card and sent a young lady shopping. She was ever so good. £500 an hour she was doing.
Not bad. Sounds like someone I know. With their own card. But let's take a look at that clip.
Del Boy Batty checks the coast is clear before giving us the hard sell on his latest credit card.
It's brand spanking new. Ain't even been signed. The person who was meant to receive it hasn't received it, so he doesn't know that it's gone missing. You know what I mean? Straight out of the post. Well, it looks good.
Back to the shop counter, and it seems there are bent credit cards stashed everywhere.
Do you want me to send him in then?
That is a frightening thought. So we'll see that tomorrow night on ITV, Roger. So you are leaving the Cook Report, but you say you're not retiring. What kind of things can we expect in the future?
Oh, more of the same, but probably more expensive. 2 commissioned 1-hour peak time specials, more things on the way. So I'm not disappearing, just changing direction and throttling back a bit.
Yeah. You watch those villains with baseball bats running across car parks, Roger. You've had enough of that. Well done. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And in the next half an hour, we're doing our own bit of Roger cooking because we're going for a con, you could call it, I suppose.